All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review. The game we're reviewing today is Pacific Drive. This is a game that I bought for my brother for his birthday in August, and I wanted to play it myself when I had the time, and it just so happened that I've only managed to play it now since August there's been so many different games that I've been playing. I've been making reviews for all of them, so you know what I mean. So I've only now finally uh, gotten around to playing it, and I am ready to give you guys my thoughts on the game. So, as always, we'll split the review into two parts. One will be spoiler free, the other spoiler full, and these two parts will also be divided into four sub-parts concerning gameplay, visual story, and the soundtrack. Yeah, as always. So, you're already seeing gameplay of Brotato in the background, so there's no spoilers here. Let's start off with the gameplay for the spoiler-free part. So, I think the gameplay is well, not probably, definitely this game's weakest aspect. I think it does get pretty tedious at times. So basically, what the game revolves around, without spoilers, is you have your car and you drive around, you collect stuff, you drive through some dangerous territory where your car can get damaged, and you're just trying to get through, collecting as many resources as possible, while also making sure that your car doesn't get fucked up and that you yourself don't get fucked up either. So I think the gameplay is quite tedious at times. After a while, stopping the car every few seconds just to collect some garbage off of a little broken car on the side of the road, or like exploring every little house, did get very, very boring eventually. Like, I know that technically you don't have to collect every single thing because the game doesn't, like, you're not using up nearly as many materials as you're collecting, so it's not always imperative to like collect everything, but there's always that feeling of I'm missing out on items, so yeah, I think that overall the gameplay is a little bit tedious. It's not the worst gameplay in the world, but it does get repetitive very quickly, in my opinion. And another thing is there are also a lot of really annoying things that can happen to your car. Like, not getting into spoilers, but your car can get damaged by various things you encounter. And sometimes though it feels like they just come completely out of nowhere. And sometimes your car can just sometimes it feels like things just break on your car like randomly and you have to fix it. So that's a little annoying. But yeah, like I said, it's not the worst gameplay in the world, but it is definitely the weakest part of the game. Like, I was frustrated with this game more often than not. However, I have to, with one thing that I have to give to this game is that the accessibility options are really, really, really good. There, you can customize everything in this game. You can lower the damage that your car takes. You can make repairs free. Uh, you can just do all sorts of things that make the game easier, and I appreciated that a lot. I actually used some of the accessibility options to make the game easier. I know, skill issue, haha, stupid, bad at the game, but Yeah, there were just things that I was really frustrated with that and I appreciated that I could turn them off or lessen their intensity. It was definitely very helpful, and I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, and another thing is the gameplay is very time consuming because if since you're driving around really slowly, collecting all the different stuff, it does take quite a while to get through some of the areas. And also it's at the start of the game it's really it's I think it's really hard to get the hang of things because the game just throws a lot of information at you. Like you open up all those menus and there's just so much information everywhere. It's hard to really start this game because I feel like it throws just so much shit at you. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the gameplay. It's like fine, but it's not the game's strongest suit. What I think the game's strongest suit is are the visuals. I love the aesthetic of this game. I think it looks and feels great. Like the vibe of this game is really, really, really cool. What So not to get into spoilers, this game does have a lot of paranormal elements. You're not just driving through minding your business out on a relaxing Sunday drive. No, you're encountering a lot of really weird supernatural stuff. And I think the atmosphere of like that kind of a paranormal feel is handled super well in the game. It's really, really cool. And there are a lot of locations that do look very nice. I think the visuals are by far the best part of this game. I just love the feel that like the world gives off. It's so cool. Yeah, and that brings us to the story. I think the story of this game is really good too. Not to get into spoilers, of course, but I did definitely enjoy the story. There's a lot of lore you can gather around the world, about the world, which I think is pretty interesting. Also, the way the lore is given to you is, in my opinion, quite cool. It's because rather than getting these like direct explanations for how something works, you're collecting these like notes that were written by actual people, and you have to kind of infer from those notes what certain things mean. Kind of like The Last of Us. Granted, I know that it's not terribly realistic that people would just write down all of their thoughts and feelings like that, but it's for gameplay purposes, and I think it's cool. It was fun collecting all of the lore items and finding out stuff about the world. I still don't have a full understanding of the world because I think it's pretty complex, but I still had fun discovering the lore. And I think all the characters in the game are really cool. The voice acting is great for all the characters, and I definitely did like interacting with them. It was really, really cool. Okay, well, you don't really interact with them. Your character doesn't really have much to say, and that's a thing that I don't really like, but let's save that for the spoilerful part, maybe. So yeah, that's that. Let's move on to the soundtrack now. So this game does have I think the ambient soundtrack for this game is great. It really just amplifies the whole feel of the game, gives it this really eerie, spooky vibe. But I can't comment on the radio music because I just didn't use it. I felt like it takes away the mood of the game. I wanted it to be as moody as possible. I didn't want to be blasting any country music on my radio. it ruining the moment. No, I didn't want any of that. But my brother listened to the radio a lot, and he says that the radio music's good. I can't confirm because I didn't listen to it, but yeah, I think the ambient music is definitely super, super good, and I liked it a lot. Okay, that's it for the spoiler-free part. I think overall this is a really, really cool game. Now let's talk about some of the things I mentioned in more detail. All right, so spoiler full part is officially starting. You're probably seeing gameplay of Pacific Drive right now, and yeah, let's talk about what I want to talk about. So for the gameplay, I've already said I think it's kind of tedious to collect all of the stuff, and one thing that I do want to mention here is that I think some of the anomalies are really unbalanced. Like I feel like there's a lot of things in the game that just don't do a whole lot, and there are things that absolutely fuck you up. Like I played through the game. I didn't have any damage modifiers on. The only modifiers that I had was that the car repairs itself when you return to the garage, and I had a few of them, a few other modifiers. I actually don't remember exactly which ones I had, but I didn't have anything that like modifies the damage that you take. All right, so just to make that clear, I did use modifiers, but not those ones. And I do feel like there are some things that just deal so much more damage to you than others. Like I never had an issue with anything electric. Like any sort of electricity damage, I feel like was just like didn't do much. Impact damage as well, I feel like never did anything. Hit, I would hit trees, I would drive off of cliffs, I would send myself flying through the air, and it feels like it never did anything to hurt my car. And then there was stuff like the acid rain, which absolutely just fucked the car up. It's so unbelievably quickly that, yeah, it feels like some of the anomalies are just really unbalanced. Like some of them are so much stronger than others. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say about the gameplay. Other than that, I pretty much said everything I wanted to in the spoiler-free part. Let's move on to the visuals. So yeah, I think that the game has an incredible aesthetic. It looks, everything just looks super cool. Like it doesn't have like, the quote unquote best graphics, but I do think the game looks really nice and the feel is just so cool. I think the best location in the game is the outer zone. I I absolutely love the outer zone. It just nails that feeling of something's not right here, you know? Because you have this like kind of mountainous forest environment, which in and of itself is already really cool, even without the paranormal stuff. And then you're just driving through, everything seems normal, but then you start seeing these anomalies, these things that are not quite the way they should be. Like you see some floating rocks, then you see like the tourists and the like pieces of the ground just popping up. It's really, really cool. I think that the Outer Zone is by far has like the best, like the creepiest, spookiest kind of vibe to it that something's very wrong about this place. Later on in the mid zone and the deep zone, I feel like the paranormalness just gets really up in your face. But I do understand that it was supposed to be like that, and I do still think the mid zone and deep zone are cool. And yeah, I do understand that it had to be like that because as you're getting closer to the heart of the zone, then things are gonna gradually get more and more fucked up. That's, yeah, I know that that's how it works. Uh, but yeah, I still think the Outer Zone is just the coolest. Oh yeah, another thing on the visuals, I loved the actual heart of the zone looked amazing. Like it looked super, super cool. I thought I would just stood there watching because it looked so, so impressive. Yeah, that's that for the visuals, I guess. Now, for the story, I do think it was good. Like I said, I did like all the characters, and I think the voice acting for them was great. I did really like the interactions that they all had. Like, I felt really upset when Tobias died because I thought he was a really cool character. And yeah, overall, for the most part, I did like the story, but there are some problems with it. For one, I really don't like how nameless the protagonist is. Like, the driver is literally just a nobody in the purest sense of the word. He has no personality, no, no, nothing. He's actually just nothing. He's actually just nothing. So that's kind of underwhelming because it gives off this feeling that there is literally no reason for the main character to be doing what he's doing. Like, you know what I mean? That it just feels like he's been thrown into this place out of nowhere and is doing everything that, and it's just, you know, like it doesn't feel like the main character has any reason to be doing what they are doing with this, with the zone and everything around it. I would have liked if the main character maybe had a voice of his own and some more personality or backstory or anything like that. Because he's just a complete nobody, and I don't really like that. And another thing about the story, which I think was not the best, was the ending. Like, I thought it was kind of underwhelming. It didn't feel like it really had a lot of closure to it. I mean, you went into the at the end when the driver goes into the heart of the zone and enters the final mind space, you get all these flashbacks of these characters talking to each other, and there are some cool character moments there. Definitely, that I definitely do see. I did like the character moments, but it's nothing new. Like we knew about all this stuff. We knew about Oppie and Alan's story. We knew about Francis and Tobias's story. So yeah, those flashbacks didn't bring anything new, but yeah, they were cool character moments. I will admit that. And then when the driver leaves the mind space, then he just decides to keep working on the zone, even though I don't think he has any reason to, like I've already said. So yeah, the ending just feels kind of empty. Like nothing really wrapped itself up nicely, in my opinion. Though I don't know, maybe there's some kind of deeper interpretation here. Maybe, because I do only have two functioning brain cells at most. And maybe there are some people who really dove into the lore of this game and there's a different understanding of the ending altogether, and like there are reasons for everything. Maybe maybe Tobias and Oppie and Francis just weren't real in the first place. Maybe it was the remnant that was making the driver see things, and maybe that's also why why he decides to stay at the zone at the end, because the remnant is still the remnant's completely taken over his mind at that point, and just making him do things that he wouldn't normally do. Maybe that's something. I've been thinking about that a lot. I finished the game yesterday and I've been thinking a lot about the ending and how maybe there's another interpretation, and that's something that I suppose could happen, could be the case. Yeah, one thing that really points me toward that theory is when the driver was in the final mind space, why wouldn't he be hearing more voices than just the people he knew, right? Because I felt like because there have been lots of people that died in the Olympic exclusion zone for sure. Like lots of people died. So why wouldn't the driver, upon entering the heart of the zone itself, why wouldn't he be hearing just a cacophony of voices of everybody that's ever died in the zone? Why does he only hear the people that he knew? Right? That kind of points me to the theory that I mentioned before that all of that stuff was just fake, and Tobias and Francis were just voices that the remnant was putting in the driver's head. Like that just makes me, yeah, points me toward the theory that none of that stuff was real and the driver just was being controlled by the remnant this whole time, all the way up until the end, and that whole stuff about him being free is just part of the twisted mind game that the remnant is playing with him. Maybe there's some kind of interpretation like that. I don't know. I'm not that smart. I'm just babbling about, my thoughts on the game. So yeah, I guess on the story that would be the end of it. I don't have anything else to say about the soundtrack because, like I said, I think the ambient soundtrack is really good, and I can't comment on the radio music because I didn't listen to it because I want the game to be moody. Yep. Yeah, thanks for watching this review, guys. I'll see you for another review very soon because out of nowhere there came out a game that I'm quite interested in, and I will love to make a review of it for you guys. So yeah, see you whenever I see you.